high school is the time when, for a lot of us, we're first coming to terms with our sexuality. But I was struck by the fact that G.B.F. is more about what it means to be gay culturally in your formative years than sexually. And a lot of it is about straight expectation of what that is, looks and sounds like.
Well, I mean, part of what drew me to the script was that it had sort of a universality to it that you don't really see in a lot of gay movies. It wasn't a gay movie to me, it was a teen movie that happened to have a gay character in the lead. So I really gravitated to the fact that this could reach a wide audience. I'm not interested in making a film for just one audience.
Now, in this way, do you think high school, the experience of these characters, does it encapsulate the experience for a lot of young gay men in wider society?
Yeah, I think so. I heard a story about the Trevor Project. Someone called in. The Trevor Project, for those who don't know, is a suicide hotline for LGBTQ youth. And some kid called in and said that I'm afraid all my friends like me because I'm gay. And that they only like him because of that. So I do think it's a prevalent issue, and I think the movie sort of does it in a farcical parody way.
Now, Darren, you know a thing or two about teen movies, having directed Jawbreaker in '99, and you came out in that great period where there was Bring It On and Cruel Intentions and so many others. Although this film obviously has the gay twist that makes it very, very different, what are some of the high school movie essentials that, gay or straight, you just can't do without?
The soundtrack is huge. You know, you want
the slow motion walk. The
slow motion walk, of course. The casting, I think, needs to be very detailed in a way that you want to sort of revisit those characters, because they're sort of vessels for your nostalgia you have for your own adolescence, in a way. You know, I think without Molly Ringwald or, you know, Matthew Broderick, you know, you wouldn't revisit films like Ferris Bueller's Day Off or the John Hughes films. So I think that, you know, they need even a little more special attention, even casting-wise. And then I think the style, the fashion, the clothing, I think it's all about what you wear in high school. I mean, everyone, you know, how you're perceived. You really are under a microscope. It's like a big aquarium, you know?
And with social media,
it's even bigger.
Everyone's watching.
It's even bigger. Yeah, everyone's watching. Like the school has like a lot of walls of glass. It's very indoor, outdoor. I wanted that feeling like constantly there were sort of like layers of like, you know, people watching and passing and looking. And I didn't want it to feel like a high school you'd seen before in every other movie. I didn't want it to feel monochromatic. I didn't want to see lockers in every shot. And
the slow motion walk you mentioned there, Michael, it's the trailer moment. How many takes?
I don't know. It felt like a lot, but we only had, because it's an indie film, we had only so much time, and I think we did only like 5 versions or something.
We didn't do, we did a few takes of each of those. There was quite a few. But the fun thing was that the actors came back behind the monitor and watched them play back.
Yeah.
So you can actually watch them play back in slow motion, so they could see what
we were
what they looked like.
And what it looked like, and it was kind of an epic thing. Everyone wanted to watch, be a part of it.
And you know what's so interesting is like, a good slow motion walk is like taking a photograph where all 4 people are smiling and they all look perfect.
Yeah.
So it's
for like how but like for a long period of time.
Right.
Like what, 30 seconds or something?
In terms of the teen movies that preceded it, I really feel like G.B.F. is trying to out-quote Mean Girls and out-slang Heathers.
It's true.
All at the same time, and I think it just about does it. So I'm wondering how much of that was in the original script, how much of it was improv, because you have a lot of comedians in the cast, and how much of it is just the fact that you have a young cast who know the slang and know what sounds right?
I think it's really all of the above. I mean, first of all, the screenplay was brilliant. I mean, the language was so expressive and so new and fresh. And laugh out loud funny. I mean, you were laughing. I mean, to laugh when you're reading a script is a very rare thing. And then the actors, I think, brought a lot of ideas and improv to all their scenes. And I had my own ideas, and you know, it just sort of like, it was a creature that just kept metamorphosizing and evolving. And I think everyone understood the tone of it and sort of used that as a jumping off point. And so it was fun just to create a world where everyone could feel like they could contribute.
Yeah.
Because some directors don't want, you know, they want to stick exactly to the script. They don't want any contribution. But I think this movie needed that organic.
Yeah, it feels loose, it feels real, and I think that all lends to it.
Every girl in high school these days, or well, I would say not even high school, my own Facebook feed, it seems they've all got G.B.Fs. And if the central concept feels it's a bit strange to me in one sense that they're making so much fuss about this, in that it does seem to be the norm to have a G.B.F. So I'm wondering, is it less about realism and more about you saying, come on Hollywood, you know, wake up and we've got to get with the times? Because TV, there's a G.B.F. in, you know, every other show. Whereas for films, this is really it. This is ground zero.
It's kind of crazy, yeah. I mean, I have to admit, when I first saw the script and it was called G.B.F., I was like, really? Well, that'll have to change. Next page. And then I understood why it was called G.B.F. The acronym is very loaded. I mean, because, you know, everyone speaks in acronyms, you know? And that acronym in particular, it's a way of I don't know, like turning someone into a commodity, a G.B.F. You're like,
yeah, there's a title, there's a label.
Or an S.B.F., a sassy black friend.
That was one of my favorite lines.
So yeah, no, I think ultimately the movie is about being an individual. I mean, Tanner is not a G.B.F. in the beginning. He's a comic book nerd who happens to be gay, who's fine not being sexual in the beginning of the film. He hasn't really found, and by the end of the film, I think he's still just discovering his sexuality, you know?
Yeah, and I think that this is something that is maybe happening that the big studios would not have made.
No, George read an article in Teen Vogue about this whole G.B.F. thing about 5 years ago, and that's where the idea for the film came from. It was real life, the absurdity of these high school girls being like, oh, it's in fashion to have a G.B.F., I want one. And George smartly understood that was a great conceit and that it was a great way into a story where it's not about him being a G.B.F., it's about him being Tanner Daniels, this really cool, sweet, geeky, cute kid, whatever, you know?
So if you're pushing things forward in one sense, in that this really is a first of its kind,
right.
In another, the film feels surprisingly retro, and whether I think that's down to you a lot as a director, because it really feels like you could have made this the year after Jawbreaker.
Well, that's essentially I did.
A production design and costume where it's got a very 90s, almost 90s, glow colours. You know?
Those are that's my jam.
Yeah, that's your ish.
That's what I do.
That's what he does.
But you know, I think that's why me and George are good collaborators, because he brought this Mean Girls 90s and post 90s aesthetic. Well, not really 90s even. I would say like late 90s, 2000s. And I brought sort of the 80s, or more early mid 90s thing. I don't know. We just brought different elements to the table. You know? Yeah,
and you were sort of talking about has that classic feel. You will watch this years from now and be like, oh yeah, I remember that time in 2014 or 2013 when it was like that.
So you must feel particularly great to be part of something like that, Michael.
Oh, absolutely. I feel honored and so proud, and I feel like this is an important film that that deals with taboo subjects in a light, fun way. In a colorful way.
The lightness, and that's what's exciting about it, is the comedy. You don't see taboo subjects presented in a fun, playful way. That's, I think, what is scary for some certain people. Like, I love the seduction scenes when the oversexed Mormon is trying to seduce Tanner and then Brent. You know, it was so like Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know, I love those scenes.
Having a film specifically for gay teens where they're not, you know, in every other teen film before this, they've been the sassy sidekick. Now they get to take center stage. What has the response been like from the gay community?
Very powerful. A lot of kids saying that was me in high school. Not just kids, people my age, people in their 30s saying that was me in high school. That was my experience in high school. People sing themselves and
yeah, I mean, people tell me all the time that on Facebook and stuff, that they came out to their parents and that my character, or I helped them in some way, and so that's amazing. I mean, this is in some ways changing things, you know, and I think that's what we set out to do. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be a weird thing anymore. This should be the end of niche films of gay and straight characters, you know. I
wanted to end with a bit of a game. There's a line in the movie, I'm paraphrasing, so you can correct me here, but where one of the queen bees says, well, you know, you need a diva to worship. You know, as much as we need a G.B.F., you need a diva. So I want to know who's gayer. I'm going to give you 2 divas, and you have to tell me why. Judy Garland or Julie Andrews?
Judy Garland.
Yeah, Judy Garland, just because she's Liza's mom and she was in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's filled with rainbows.
Mariah or Madonna?
Madonna.
Yeah.
Just because of the goatee, the cone bra, blonde ambition, everything.
Grace Jones or Grace Kelly?
Grace Jones, just because it's more closer to mine.
Grace Jones,
Yeah.
probably.
Slave to the rhythm.
Beyonce or Britney?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I actually-
the
You go first.
gays really love Beyonce
Yeah,
these days.
yeah.
That's what I'm finding
Yeah.
out. Like everyone's been talking about Beyonce, so maybe.
But ultimately, I will have to say Britney.
But Britney-
only because she's like so bubblegum and pop, and so many of the gays came up with her, and the young ones love her, and she's now set up in Vegas.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of gay.
That's about as gay.
Whose
Yeah.
weave is more expensive?
Cher. Well, Beyonce.
Beyonce or
No,
Britney's?
Beyonce is
Oh
clearly.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And,
She's full on wigs.
She's got some money.
a tough one here. We're going with an icon going back some, and now arguably the biggest gay icon today. Gaga or Cher?
Cher, for sure.
Yeah, I guess Cher's the queen.
And Gaga's more of a freak. Cher's more of a of a queer icon for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to Silkwood. I mean, like everything.
Gaga's still graduating.
Well, thank you so much for your time, guys. I really hope you enjoy your time here as well at BFI Flare, and that the audience reaction today and tonight is a great one.
Thank
I'm
you
sure
so
it will
much.
be.
Thank you.
We hope so too.
Great interview.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.